Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm talking about the mindset of a good contractor or like a good businessman in general. So I think I covered this a little bit in a previous video, but I'm in the process of making a training course for contractors, more like on the business and marketing side of things. And so I'm going through my outline and I'm making videos of each section. And so you can call this a practice run, but it's a way for you to get like a sneak peek of what's coming in my training course, and also gain some knowledge and gain from the years of experience and trial and error that I've gone through. Hopefully I can save you some time and make things a little easier and a little faster for you. So there's 5 things I'm going to talk about today, and the first one is that customer experience is the top priority. So hopefully that sounds kind of common sense to you or like a no-brainer, but it's really easy as humans to get really wrapped up in our own perspective and like what's going on with us. We're naturally just kind of selfish, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to business and marketing, it's not about you, it's about your customers. And if you make it about you, you're going to run into a bunch of issues, and if you don't figure out why they're happening, you might be dealing with those same issues for the rest of your career. I've seen it all the time. One of the main places I see it is when we have clients who we're building a website for, and everything that they want on their website is about them. It's for them. It's what they think, what they like, and what they think is important, which some of those things might line up with their customers. But when we approach it, and like when I approach marketing now, it's like 95% customer perception and putting myself in the customer's shoes. That's how I make my decisions. The 5% that's about me is because, well, when you have your own business, you have the flexibility of doing some things the way you want to do them. So there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to put your customer's experience first. And it's not just in marketing, it's with everything. It's possible for you to make some huge mistakes on a job, but still give the customer a good experience. So, if you ask 50 contractors, what's the most important thing about a job? A lot of them will say it's doing the job right. And they're not wrong, but I would say that more important is the customer's experience, because it's possible to do the job wrong and still have a happy customer, and it's possible to do the job right and have an unhappy customer. At the end of the day, happy customers are the one that refer you to others, that keep paying you, that keep having you back over and over again. And in essence, as service professionals, it's our job to make our customers happy. So if you use that as a guiding light in everything you do in your business, you will be more successful. I guarantee you that. And over the years, it used to be a struggle for me to think this way. I always kind of struggled, like, well, what is valuable? And because I knew that adding value to the world would make my pocketbook bigger, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And at this point, it's so ingrained that customer experience is the main thing. Hopefully, me talking about it will help you think about this. And when you're going through your day-to-day, even if you're an employee working a job, like, your customer is your boss. So how can you give them the best experience possible? And when you're working for the company's clients, how can you give them the best experience possible? And if you're constantly trying to give a better experience to the people around you, you will be very successful in life. All right, so and the second thing is something that I learned first from a book called, what is the book? It's called The E-Myth. I read E-Myth Revisited, which is like an updated version. But basically, this book really breaks down in the clearest sense the difference between having a job and having a business. And most self-employed people out there that think of themselves as business owners, they're actually just self-employed. They have a job. They just happen to be their own boss. And that's very different than having a business. A business is like a self-driving car. You can ride in it or you cannot ride in it, but that thing is going to the store with or without you. That is a true business. If you were to go on vacation for a month, or if you were to get really sick and your business came to a screeching halt, it's not really a business. It's a job. You have a job. You're basically on a treadmill and you have to keep going, or everything's going to stop and your income's going to stop. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just important to differentiate those things. It's a shame when somebody spends 20 years building a business thinking it's a business, but then turns out really they just built themselves a job and now they're kind of stuck in it. If that's your goal, if you want it to be that way, totally cool. That's how my dad is. He's a remodeling contractor. He's got 2 employees right now, but he's the main guy. If he stops, the whole company stops. And he's okay with that. He wants it to be that way because he doesn't want to go through all the trouble and the stress of bringing in more people, teaching them how to do everything, managing them. Like, he likes that he can just take a week off if he feels like it, and there's nobody sitting around waiting for him to tell him what to do. My business, on the other hand, is something that I want to grow beyond my own abilities. And what I mean by that is, if the more parts of my business that rely on me personally, the slower it's going to grow. And so all the people that work at my company, it's better for them if I can bring in more people to do these key parts, because they can dedicate more time to it. I only have a certain amount of time every day and every week. And if too many parts of my business rely on me, I'm going to be a bottleneck forever, and it's going to hurt everyone else at my company. So that's kind of how I think about it. And if you're trying to build a business that can operate without you, you have to make that decision, and you have to think a lot about that and write down your plan and execute your plan. And there's countless books about that kind of stuff. But essentially, you need to, piece by piece, replace yourself out of your company. And it's okay to do parts of it, but just think of it this way. A business, in my opinion, a business isn't really a business if it is overly reliant on any one person. Let's say that any one person in your business gets really sick and can't work anymore. Does your business come to a screeching halt, or is it able to absorb that and continue on? If it's the latter, then I would say it is a real business, and it's something that can self-sustain. So the real point here is just to differentiate that and get clear on that for yourself. What kind of business do you have right now? Are you self-employed? Do you have a business that can operate without you? And then what do you want? It's okay to not want to build a business, but it's a shame when somebody spends years thinking they're building a business and they're really not. So check out the E-Myth. It's a fantastic book. It's a pretty quick read. And I promise you, the first time I read it, I didn't really get it. I was brand new. I understood the concepts, but then I read it again 3 years later after I had hired and fired some people, and I saw exactly what I did play out in that book, and it was pretty eye-opening to see. So definitely recommend that book. The third thing, it's about the word niche or niche, Niche. Being a specialist versus being a generalist. Most people, when they start out, they are a generalist. They want to be everything to everybody. They want to say yes to anybody that's got money in their hand. And it's pretty normal. You need money. You need customers. They're kind of a scarce resource. And so you're willing to accept just about any kind of job. But something magical happens when you start saying no to everybody except a specific type of client or a specific type of job, or both. And the fear for me was always, oh, well, I don't know if there's enough of these clients to reach my goals, so I'm just going to keep saying yes to everybody. These days we do marketing for construction companies. That's the only people we work for, and now we've got more work than ever. It's easier to sell these projects because that's all we do. We're really good at it. I've explained how it works like 1,000 times. I've got this YouTube channel where I talk about this stuff all the time. Like, by really focusing in for a while, it's really allowed us to grow much faster and to have an easier time of it. And it's the same in construction. A lot of like remodeling contractors, they want to do residential, commercial, kitchens, bathrooms, additions, decks, basements, fences. Like, they want to do all this stuff, which is fine. You can do all that stuff. But when it comes to marketing, like, think about it this way. If you were Google and you had to choose between two search results to show somebody, and they were looking to have a deck built, and you had this contractor that does every single kind of construction under the sun, and then you've got this contractor that only does decks, which one are you going to show people? Well, you're going to show people the guy that does only decks because he's way more relevant to someone looking for a deck. That's just a marketing example of how focusing in on a certain thing can be really beneficial. On the business side of things, if you do one kind of thing, then you and your staff, you get really, really good at that. And then you can find ways to make it easier and faster to do that stuff and more profitable. And you just get super, super good at that one thing. And so you're able to make way more money with it. So being a specialist versus being a generalist, that's another thing that you have to decide. And if you are afraid of specializing or focusing in on something, I encourage you to really think and talk about that and figure out what it is exactly that you're afraid of. Because maybe it's something that's pretty valid, and maybe there's a good reason why you shouldn't do that. And a lot of times you can have your cake and eat it too. Like, just because your website only focuses on one specific thing doesn't mean you can't take jobs doing the other thing. It doesn't mean you can't have more than one website. It doesn't mean you can't have one team that specializes in this stuff and another team that specializes in this stuff. None of this stuff happens overnight. So, think about this stuff and figure out where you are now. And maybe you want to be a generalist, totally cool. But I promise you things will get easier if you choose to focus in on something that you're really good at. So that was 3 things. The 4th thing is constant education. So, business is one of those things where it kind of points out all of your flaws, because especially in the beginning, when you are the business, when you're self-employed, everything relies on you. So if you procrastinate certain things, that's going to be magnified times 100, and whatever that is never going to get done. Or if you're really bad at talking to people, then you're going to really struggle with sales, and you're going to have a hard time securing jobs. There's all sorts of things like that. And so really, like, you have to be ready to just keep learning forever. Like, it has to become a part of your daily routine. And, for me, over the last 6 years of being in business, I've gotten really good at learning. It's like when I go into something new, I'm not trying to memorize every detail or anything like that. I'm looking for the core principles that if I can keep in my mind, those will help me solve any of the problems that I'm going to encounter. And that's a lot of what my channel is about. I like to focus on principles, on universal truths, on things that will be true in multiple situations. Because I believe that if you can master the principles, all the other little things you'll be able to figure them out. So just plan on learning. If you're not a book reader, you better be watching videos. Books are fantastic. Writing is super important too. You don't have to publish anything, but like, get on a computer and type out your thoughts. Super important. You can also like record yourself talking if you're not a good typer, or you can write in a notebook, whatever it is. But when you write something or you explain something, it forces your brain to organize the information and make better sense of it. And so it's pretty much the best way of learning that I know of. And it's one of the reasons why I do these videos, is because by explaining things to you, it helps me organize this information in my mind and helps me be better and more educated. The last thing is a simple one. Just take this stuff one day at a time. You know, we can't do it over again. So make the most of every day. You're going to have days where you're on top of the world and everything is going so good. And then sometimes it's the very next day that you're down in the dumps and everything's falling apart. And that's just, I guess that's just life and that's just business. So I think eventually for me, I've kind of evened out. Like I don't have the high highs I used to, but I don't have the low lows either. Like I'm pretty used to the way things are, and we get a bunch of sales in one day and I don't get like overly excited. But on the flip side, we don't get any sales for a few weeks. I'm not really down in the dumps. It's just part of the process. So take it one day at a time. Do a little bit, like whatever you're working on, whatever your goal is, work on it a little bit every day. It's super easy to go 6 months without taking any action, and then another 6 months, and then another 2 years. And the worst thing is when 5 years go by and you're like, man, I still haven't done that one thing that I know I need to do. And then sometimes you just never end up doing it. So take it one day at a time, take a little bit of action every day, and you should be good. So quick recap, customer experience is the top priority. Building a business versus building a job, differentiate those two things, figure out what you're doing, what you want to do. Number 3, are you a specialist? Are you a generalist? Which one do you want to be? Why aren't you the other thing? It's good to just be aware of your answers to those. Know thyself, right? The 4th thing is constantly be educating yourself. There's a million ways to learn things, but try to learn from others just like you learn from your own experiences. And, just like this video right here, like if you can take one thing from this video and apply it today, then that's huge. You do that on a regular basis, you're gonna progress extremely fast. And then the last thing is just take it one day at a time. Don't stress too hard, but at the same time, remember you can't do it over again. So make the most of today, and you should be good. If you think there is anything else that you want to add that I didn't, throw it in the comment section. Again, I'm going to be putting out a training course for contractors, so if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. It takes a lot of time and energy to make these things, and so the more people who tell me they're interested, the quicker I'll get it done. So throw that in the comment. Awesome. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your time. I'll see you on the next one.